Welcome back to the Real Investment Hour. I'm Danny Ratliff here with Rich Rosso and Perth Tolle. Mike, I know you've been waiting patiently. You want to jump into trade wars and tariffs. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. I think this approach that the administration is taking to trade with China and our allies, for that matter, in my opinion, is wrong. I don't think tariffs is going to lead us anywhere good. I don't think tariffs is the way we're going to become a manufacturing powerhouse again or lead in the industries of the future. I think, in my humble opinion, what we need to do is identify industries and sectors where we need to have, for strategic reasons, for security reasons, and for economic reasons, we need to have domestic manufacturing capability. Mm-hmm. For example, medicines and drugs, electronics, industries of the future, and reserve a certain percentage of those industries and sectors, 25, 50, maybe 100%, reserve those for, 100% if it's strategic, defense-related, for example, reserve certain percentages of our consumption, our demand for domestic manufacturing. If the Chinese want to subsidize, the Chinese government wants to subsidize our tennis sneakers, tennis shoes, whatever, T-shirts, and sell us cheap T-shirts, and we see no need to manufacture them here locally, why not let them subsidize it for us? That's my opinion. Yeah. And I think we as a country better get damn serious about this, because the Chinese literally are killing Americans. They are cornering industries. They're coming into the U.S., buying up American companies, cornering an industry so that we're 100% relying on them. We better get serious. And these politicians in Washington are just fooling around right now. Fooling around like fools.
Well, thanks, Mike. I know you had some strong feelings here, but I think you had some cerebral approach here to, I call it the digging underneath the ground and searching out the roots of issues versus street fighting. We're street fighting right now with China, and it's theater, and it's just going to create more volatility. And yeah, obviously there's been some indiscretions, and China's taken advantage of certain things, but there's better ways to handle it. And one way is to become a specialized manufacturing powerhouse. I mean, look at what Germany has done. And people, Germany always gets beat up for wanting to part with their trade surplus, and all the way they've created apprenticeships, and the way that they've created these great manufacturing businesses, very specialized. I mean, they're not making, at least I don't think they're making a big market in toasters and ceiling fans and junk we like here. But we can do that here. But we don't see a lot of, you look at, I was looking at new business formation, entrepreneurship here. It's really at a low. You're not seeing that. Maybe it's a demographic issue. We don't have as many young people coming in. I mean, we're all on the dirty side of demographics. We're all an aging society here. Maybe that's part of the reason for lack of mobility and so forth. So I think it was great commentary, and I don't know where this goes. Nobody wants to call it a trade war yet. They want to just call it a confrontation. But, there's a lot of street fighting and political theater that's going on right now, and I don't know really what gets done.
To address one of the things that the caller mentioned, and to also get to the root of the issue, like Rich said here, about China, is that, yes, there's a lot of drugs that come out of China that have poor, let's call it, standards for production. And what is the root of that, though? And I think that it is, and in full disclosure, I lived in China for 9 years. I was born there. And I think the issue is that there's a huge lack of standards for human dignity and for just human value. And if you don't value if you don't outvalue human life, and you can tell by some of their policies that have been in place for the last 30 years that there is a lack of value for human rights, for human dignity, for individual freedom. If you don't value that, then you're going to have some of these issues where you don't have the standards in place like we do here for some of their scientific endeavors. So yeah, that is definitely an issue.
But what does that say about us that we're willing to accept those? And
yeah,
it's all listen. It's all about profit margins for us. I mean, we got to face that. I mean, was it Warren Buffett and Jamie Dimon that wrote that op-ed about stop these quarterly numbers? And well, nothing about cutting CEO comp, but go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's a good point. No, but I think that that is getting kind of to the root of the issue, and that's one of the reasons why we evaluate the things that we do. But besides our product, I think we would be less concerned about China if some of these practices were more sound, and that would happen only if they had more respect for the value of life in general.
Yeah. And I think, and I don't know how this is going to affect how Perth and her, the organization that she's working with, that are going to assess which countries to go to. But, Ian Bremmer's got a great book out, and it talks about how protectionism is just on the rise. If you don't have walls up, you have pretty much virtual walls up. It's something that's been building and is going to continue to build.
Trade would have definitely been a way for us to lift standards across the board. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, though, if you think about it, here demographically and domestically, you would never get away with those types of lack of sanitation, right? FDA would be all over it, but yet these companies are allowed to bring that type of product in. It's really kind of disheartening if you think about it.
Yes.
And what does that do for the overall commerce?
I think a lot of that is, though, that we project our optimism onto other countries like China. So, we come from a place of privilege where we don't deal with these issues daily. So we may not even know that this is an issue until after the fact. So, I mean, I think that it's a place of privilege that we're coming from. And so we are sometimes, not looking in those places we should be.
So where do you go from here, though? So if you're looking at all this data, you're analyzing these things. What's next for life and liberty? Is there anything else that you would add to the index over time? Is there something that come up and just spark maybe, oh, wow, okay, I never thought of it in this way? When you're looking at this data, I mean, you have so many different, qualifiers.
Yeah, I think I'm just excited to bring a product to market at some point, whenever that is, and I think that's happening soon. But with an index, it is a live index, FRDM, on the Bloomberg if you have one. But it's you're not seeing live, people actually trading in it and what's happening. So. So yeah, definitely excited to see a product come out and to see whether the market has an appetite for something like this. Once this is out, then we can gauge the appetite. Then we'll see what's next. But we do have some ideas in the pipeline. Obviously, you want to put one out there first and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I saw this whole discussion about frontier markets today, and people going, "Hey, maybe we need to look at frontier markets." Have you thought about that as well?
Yeah, because we are designing products, indexes for ETFs. Frontier markets don't have the tradability and some of the liquidity that we need. Yeah, so the size. So we are exploring that. I don't know how to build one at the current time, but we would love to do that. And there's some very free frontier countries like Estonia. Estonia is the freest frontier country. It's fascinating the things that they're doing there. Coming from an ex-Soviet type of situation, and they've just been amazing in the way that they've grown.
So I bet you find some fascinating data. I mean, I bet you look at some data and go, "Wow," you're looking at this going, "I never thought of that." Like that's amazing fact.
Yeah.
Any other countries that you're seeing that on the frontier market that's surprising you, or any other markets in general that you see that are going, "Wow, this is really amazing to see progress that's being made or developments on the front that you followed, the life and liberty front."
Yeah, if I could actually bring it back to China for that. I have a friend who listens to the show. His name's Carl, and he Hi, Carl. He tried to call in, but he didn't get through, and he just text me. So he said, talk about the Orwellian policies that China has in place for social credit monitoring.
I've heard about this social credit monitoring.
So this is something that they started talking about 3-4 years ago, definitely 3 years ago, and now it's in place. So some of these really Orwellian things that we see happening around the world, including in our own country, it took
Explain
China.
that social credit monitoring.
Yeah, it took them 3 years to put this into place. Now it's fully in place. So there's an app on the phone called WeChat. I'm sure you guys have heard of WeChat. So in China, you can't really do life without WeChat. You do everything on there. Your banking, everything you order, your food, everything is on WeChat. It's like your Facebook, your bank account, all in one.
You got a little time.
Okay. So they're looking at the things you purchase, the people you talk to, the things you say on your social media.
And they give you a score?
And they give you a score. So if you say Winnie the Pooh, for example, your score would go down. If you post a picture of Winnie the Pooh. And the reason why is because Winnie the Pooh has a resemblance to Xi Jinping.
Oh,
and so he's this is a very sensitive issue. You have to respect that,
Okay.
So
you know how much trouble I would be getting in on WeChat?
Your social credit would be not good. And this would affect.
I would disappear.
It would affect you. Probably, maybe it would affect your traveling. If you can get out of the country, if you can buy a house, buy a car, it's your credit.
Well, goodness, boy, I would love to continue that, but we are at the end of the show, and you've been listening to The Real Investment Hour on AM 700, the voice of Texas.
If I had a little money, it's a rich man's world. It's a rich man's world.